Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm Claire Jones. I'm a queer fantasy romance author and small publisher that helps other writers getting their works into the world. And we are jumping on for my Marketing as Authors Facebook Live series, where I interview the amazing and inspiring authors in my network to discuss the marketing strategies that have propelled our writing careers forward in meaningful ways. And if you're joining us, please like, comment, share below. Let us know that you're here. And today I'm talking to Erin. So
Hello.
you.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I feel like, TikTokers, we have a tendency to be like passing ships in the night of like, oh,
Mhm.
hey, okay, cool. Oh, hey, oh, okay, cool.
I'm like, I should connect with that person, and then I forget. I should connect with that person, and whoop, there they
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Our attention span is less than a second on TikTok.
Which is even lower than like what the standard 7 seconds that
Yeah, it's no longer a
yeah.
goldfish. That we're below that bar.
We just ping, ping, ping back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like to think of it as a mental gym, but I'm an optimist.
No, I get that. I mean, well, and with TikTok and all kinds of social media with marketing, you're getting hit with so much stuff every day and so many different people that sound so fascinating to connect with. And I don't know about you, but as someone with ADHD, I'll have the intention to reach out. And then when I remember to reach out, it's like 4 months later, and I'm like, dang it, I might
I
have missed
mean,
that window.
I love the adage better late than never, though.
Yes, I
Because if you
agree.
do remember 4 months later, it means that it was meaningful at
True.
some point in time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so funny. Like people who are not on TikTok, when you tell them that you're a TikToker, they're like, really?
I've gotten that too, or I've gotten they're like, oh, so you're an influencer now. And I'm like, I don't know if I would call myself that. I'm on TikTok sharing, yes, hair flip, sharing funny stuff, relatable stuff, things that help promote my book, those kind of things.
They're like, so lip syncing? And I was like, oh my God, no.
This is not musicality. No,
No.
I do lip syncing now and again.
Yeah, yeah, but
Sometimes
there's
it just fits.
so much more than
Yeah.
lip syncing. I think that's what TikTokers don't get is like it's an encyclopedia, it's a news station, it's camaraderie, it's
Therapy.
community, it's therapy. You're literally getting mental diagnoses through this app that you never knew.
Facts. I mean, it's like I ended up down the ADHD algorithm tunnel,
Hmm.
and I'm sitting there going, I don't like that I'm hitting all these different lists that people are talking about. I talk to my therapist the next time. I'm like, so I know I have anxiety. I know I have depression. Do you think I have ADHD? And she's like, yeah, let's look into that.
Us
All
neuro
right then.
our neurospices need to stick together.
I know. I love the term neurospicy. It
Oh,
makes my soul so happy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, let's get on topic. Speaking
Yes.
of, give us a rundown of your books. What are they? How many have you written? And what do you have planned for the future?
So, I'm the author of the Purple Door District series slash trilogy. It's an urban fantasy series about parahumans, so werebirds, vampires, witches, mages, werewolves, all living in safe zones called Purple Door Districts that
Mm,
are denoted by purple items. So a purple door, purple candles, purple flower pots, which is actually in the first book. And it goes through their stories. And the first trilogy is set in Chicago, a tiny bit in Wisconsin, because these are places I've been before.
yeah.
And it goes through it follows the journey of a character named Bianca, who is a werebird on the run from hunters, she has no idea why they're after her. But she does know that the Purple Door District is supposed to be a safe place. So she goes
Hmm.
to find that and ends up befriending a water magus and so many other different types of characters from different backgrounds. Ends up, a slight spoiler, but ends up finding out that she's not exactly straight
Hmm.
and falls for a werewolf. And it's so there's a lot of LGBTQIA themes throughout the story. It's not as prevalent in book one, but becomes more prevalent in book two and three. So that's the first trilogy. I am planning on writing more, but this is a portion of a series that my co-author and I have been working on for like the past 10 plus years.
Mm,
And the main series is called Fates and Furies. Still going to be
mm,
urban fantasy, deals with all kinds of different types of parahumans, magic, romance. It's got all kinds of elements in there that's a lot of fun. So she's actually going to be visiting me again this summer so we can go over the books again and do some writing, do some revisions, all of that. So I'm hoping that'll come out soon. And then I want to make a trip to New Orleans before I
mm.
write the next trilogy because for some reason my brain is like it needs to be set in New Orleans,
It's a
but
vibe. It's a
right, it
vibe.
is such a vibe. But I want to go visit and get an idea of the culture other than just watching TV or
Mm.
shows. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, watching Vampire Diaries and the originals, of course, made me want to go to New Orleans, but
Islands.
New Orleans, yeah. But I really want to get a feel for the culture because one thing that we try to do in the series is make our characters not only believable but authentic to
Yeah.
their backgrounds. We write outside of our lanes with some of the characters, but we have sensitivity readers who come in and read over that to try to make sure that we're being as sensitive as possible.
Mm,
So that's why I don't want to just jump into writing the story with New Orleans without actually visiting and making sure I'm being respectful of the community.
I love that.
So that's important to me. So that's the main thing I'm working on. I'm also trying to query a YA fantasy dragon book that
Mm,
has LGBTQIA romance in it.
mm.
That one has been circling to agents here and there, so I'm working on that. I have been writing pieces for anthologies like nonstop over the past few months.
Yeah,
So
I've noticed that in your videos. Like you're always submitting something.
right? So like I have a few of my anthologies over there, but I think I have like 5 coming out this year so far,
Wow.
which is great. This one I think you'll enjoy. Like one of my most recent ones is coming out June 4th and it's called Pull of the Tide and it's a sapphic pirate anthology.
Yes.
So oh my God, I had so much fun writing that. And right now I'm having people do arc reads of it so that they
Mm,
can leave reviews. And it's been good so far. I think I've surprised people with some of my writing. I don't know. I was really impressed by the amount of people who jumped up and said, I would like to read this
mm.
because I always get a little nervous about going, hey, who wants to read this and review it before it comes out? So,
Sapphic is having a moment right now,
right,
honestly.
right. I
Like,
love it.
I don't particularly know why. I mean, there's obvious reasons why. We all love a good Sapphic,
Yes.
but Sapphic's having a moment at the moment.
It really is. And the more short stories I write, I find if there's a romantic element, I seem to go sapphic most of the
Hmm.
time. And
Hmm.
I'm totally okay with this.
Hmm.
One of the anthology and the same anthology, they're very queer representative, obviously, but they're gonna have other anthologies coming out, which I plan to write for. And from what I've heard from them, they're very inclusive, not only obviously with the LGBT community, but also in diversity and body size, which is
Hmm.
really nice because you
Hmm.
don't see a lot of stories featuring like obese or larger characters,
Yeah.
unless they're, the funny sidekick or the bumbling fool.
Yep.
So
Yep.
thank you for representation in that way.
Yeah, yeah. I love that we're having this conversation because I've actually been pitching a lot of panels recently to conferences and conventions of talking about how to write nuanced, diverse characters
Yeah.
without one, tokenizing them, and
Yes. Yeah.
B, making the plot points entirely centered around their struggle as a diverse character.
Right. That's what I feel like people don't tend to understand is that it's okay to write in different write about different characters that are outside your lane, but don't presume that you know their struggles or what they've gone through.
And I think this
Uh,
is true of all characters, not just
oh
like the
yeah,
worst marginalized characters, is like just make them non 2D.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's it underlines good character development no matter what the character or who the character is
Hmm.
by making them not just reductionist, not just
Hmm.
reduced to one quality, two qualities,
Yep.
so on and so forth. Like we all love a good grumpy sunshine, right?
Yes.
But if that's their entire personality, like it leaves it's a bit wanting, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. No, I feel the same. So that's one of the things that my co-author and I are very focused on when we're writing our stories is we do have representation of tons of different people, from different walks of life, etc. Um, but we try to be very respectful and careful about
Mhm.
it.
'Cause I feel like when you reduce to either A, tokenization, or B, the struggles of
Mhm.
the marginalization or the diversity, then it makes it almost less relatable, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you're putting brackets around the quality and being like, this quality is separate, it's othered in
Mhm.
this sense. It's like either the othered token or it's the othered struggle, right? And
Exactly.
so then as a reader, as a consumer, you have less of a chance to relate to the otherness
Mhm.
than if the character is written with relatability in the nuance, right?
Right. And this plays a part in marketing because, we're seeing a lot more books come out with a broader cast, which is
Mhm.
fantastic. But then we also are seeing the trouble of having just the token characters, just
Yeah.
throwing them in
Yeah.
there for the sake of saying, "Oh, my book is different or diverse or whatever." And it's like you want it to be authentic. Like
Mhm.
you're making the characters the way they are for a particular reason, not just to be like, "Oh, marketing, yes."
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can even say that about like morally gray characters.
oh yeah,
Like people
definitely.
think that morally gray automatically sells nowadays, but you
Mhm.
have to write it well.
Yes. And they have to be, like you said, not two-dimensional.
Yeah,
They have to have something unique about them,
yeah,
and have their own personality, even if they do have the qualities of
yeah,
either, the dark broody character or the cinnamon roll.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Choose your trope, really.
Choose your trope, yep.
All right. Well, how did you get into this? What led you to this career? And like, did your past experiences support this, or was it a complete 180?
So what's funny is when I was initially growing up, um, I liked stories, but I hated people reading them to me. And I didn't, I, or no, I, that's flip. Sorry. I didn't like reading them. I wanted somebody reading them to me. I had
Mhm.
trouble learning to read when I was younger. I don't know what it was. I distinctly remember this. My mom and I had read this kid's book so often that I had partially memorized it. So
Mm.
instead of actually reading the words, I was reciting what it said. And she caught me because I said a completely different word. And she's like, "You're just memorizing this, aren't you?" I'm like, so she grabbed a completely different book and made me read it, and I was like, "Dang it." But, once I really got into reading, I found fantasy, and fantasy became escapism for me when I was
Mm.
younger. 'Cause we all go through a lot of crap growing up, and
It happens.
emotional damage. S so that kinda helped me escape, and it also made me start creating stories in my own head. So I remember being a kid and, this is gonna date me, but before, class, I'd sit with a notebook paper and write the story, stick it in my Lisa Frank folder, put it aside, then come home and keep writing in it. And I still have that first manuscript that I wrote because it's like
I
It's so
mean,
personal to me.
anything blessed by Lisa Frank is sacred.
Right? Exactly. So I love stories. I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to be like a published author or anything until I was a little bit older. I just started writing things that I loved. And when I found like fanfic.net, I was writing
Mm,
fan fiction for books that I loved. And that actually taught me how to uh formulate story ideas, create chapters and things like that. I'm not going to say that the writing was very good,
of
but
course, you have to
it
start
was
somewhere.
right. It was a teaching experience for me. So because I had such a love of books and words, I knew I wanted to at least go into English when I went to college.
Mm,
So I did got a degree in English and secondary education, realized very quickly I did not want to teach in high school. But I was happy to teach writing to other people in a smaller setting. So I basically took advantage of different types of courses I could do once I graduated. So I attended the Denver Publishing Institute, which is a 1 month course all about marketing, publishing, editing, copy editing, and all of those elements all shoved into 1 month, and you get grad school credits for it, which is great. If you can't tell, I'm a recruiter for them now, and have been since 2009. But they showed me all the elements of marketing and writing and what it would mean to publish a book. So that
mhm,
kind of gave me my first taste of it. I attended writing conferences like the Pikes Peak Writing Conference in
mm,
Colorado, which was amazing. Met some really great people there. And then I started getting involved in writing groups like the Iowa Writers House, which was
mhm,
it was more of a workshop organization to support Iowans and people in Iowa City. And from that grew the Writers Rooms, which is the nonprofit organization that I run,
mm,
that is focused on providing a free, safe environment to all writers. So we're divided up into different small groups called rooms that are either genre based or social writing based.
mm.
And people can come together for 2 hours, work on their craft, and we end up publishing an anthology every year of our community's work. So we're actually working on getting that next anthology out, and we'll be running like an Indiegogo
Amazing.
campaign for it. So marketing was a great thing to talk about.
Mm,
So all those kind of things have like kind of helped with me wanting to be an author, wanting to get my books out there. And I would say attending writing or author signing events when
mm,
I was still writing was a huge thing for me because it allowed me to make connections. It
mm.
allowed me to study the ways that people decorated their tables or sold their work.
Yeah.
And it really made me realize like how fun and amazing this would be to be part of this writing community.
Mm,
So an author named Brian K. Morris, who also does a lot of podcasts too, he is part of the Rising Tide publishing. And his ideology is that when we all support one another, we're like ships. When we all support each other, we all rise together. And I firmly believe that
absolutely.
supporting one another as authors, yes, we're all selling books, we're all trying to get people to buy our stuff, but I don't think of it as competition between me and other writers
Yeah.
because we all have different things in our stories that are going to catch people's attention.
Hmm.
So I'm going to encourage and support my fellow writers. I know I have others that are supporting me, and all of that has helped with launching my books, selling my books, getting to attend different events that I hadn't heard of.
Hmm.
Um, so it's been a lot of different things over the years that education wise that I've learned, community connections,
Yeah.
and also just doing the thing and sometimes falling flat on my face and sometimes
Man.
succeeding, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I love that you're emphasizing the community aspect because writing is such a solitary endeavor,
Oh, it is. It
and we
is.
all tend to be on the introverted side of the scale as well.
Yeah.
But you really can't be a silo in
Mm-mm.
this industry. You can't be a silo in this career. You have to have people that you trust, that you can bounce ideas off of, that
Yep.
you can share resources with, that you can share knowledge with, because you're
Hmm.
going to get so much further that way than if you try to go it alone.
Exactly. And it's easy for writers to beat themselves up over their own writing. So imposter syndrome, for
Yeah,
example,
absolutely.
it's awful. And, I think that's why a lot of writers are neurospicy.
Hmm.
Being able to reach out to a fellow writer who's gone through that and have them talk you through it
Hmm.
is amazing because I don't I don't think that without my community, I don't think that I would have continued with writing and trying to publish because I would have just continued to mentally beat myself down.
Yes.
That I'm not good
Yes.
enough and all that. And
Yes.
the one thing I try to remember is that we're all books and we're all in different on different chapters in our books. Some
Yes.
of us are at the beginning, some of us are halfway through. I can't compare the chapter I'm at to somebody else's chapter. We'll
Hmm.
all have different experiences and that's okay. And we're at different knowledge points or experience points, and that's totally fine.
Absolutely.
It's better to learn from each other and just keep growing rather than be like, "Well, I'm not as good as this person, so why should I try?"
Absolutely. And you actually really do have to practice discernment in this process
Mhm.
as well. Like there is such thing as too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes.
And you also want to be very careful that you don't surround yourself with people who are going to feed the imposter syndrome either.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And you also don't want to surround yourself with people who are just going to blow sunshine up your ass the entire time.
Yes.
You need to have people who are going to be real with you, who are going to be able to say, "Hey, here are some suggestions that I would give to help you improve what you're doing."
Yes.
And your connection with that person is strong enough that you don't take offense to it. You
Yeah.
accept that help.
Hmm.
That's part of growing as a community together is
Yeah.
building that trust.
Yeah, exactly. And so it is a bit of a balancing act when it comes to
Yes.
choosing community, but you have to have it in some shape or form.
Mhm. Mhm. And I understand, again, with being neurospicy, it can be very hard for people to reach out and try to connect with others. And to that, all I can say is if you don't feel comfortable connecting in person, then connect over social media.
Yeah,
TikTok, Facebook, whatever. Reach out to authors that way. Ask them questions. Go into the comments and ask them questions if that helps you feel a little bit more comfortable.
yeah,
Because at least then you're trying to build a connection with people, even if you're not quite ready to do it in person. That's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many different methods for it. I think that
Mhm.
that's something people forget often, is especially in the world of social media. They think they
Yeah.
have to be like, picture perfect and
No.
like everything polished. And, you have to like almost adopt a public persona
Mhm.
often. And a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do it, because they don't want to be fake. They don't want to be inauthentic.
Right.
And like that's the point. But you have to have some level of self-acceptance
Yes.
to be able
Exactly.
to be like, yes, I'm putting my imperfect self on a public platform, and whether you like it or not is fine.
Right. I mean, do I have like the person that I am with all my friends versus a slightly more, I guess, professional air as an author? Yeah, there are ways I'm going to act slightly differently, but I'm still being authentic to myself. It's how I react around people who I don't know really well
Yeah,
versus how, my friends and I will be screaming at each other while we're playing Mario Kart and blowing
yeah,
each other up with blue shells.
yeah, yeah,
Um, it's but I mean, I think you hit it. It's like you still, even if you put on a slightly different persona, so long as you're being authentic of that persona as well, that's what's important.
hmm,
And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be not to be unpolished because it just means more room for you to grow.
yeah,
Uh, one of the biggest fears I had with publishing my first book was like I was oh my gosh, what if there's spelling and grammatical errors and stuff
Mm,
in the story? I'm like, I've read it. I've had multiple eyes on it. I've done all this and this and this. And what if it's a mess? What if nobody likes the writing? And my friend kept telling me, it's like, girl, traditionally published books have errors in it.
yes,
It's gonna
yeah.
happen. And I'm like, but I want to try to make it better. You want to know what happened? The one person who reached out to me about finding an error was my dad, and he's like, "Did you know that you spelled Carlos's name incorrectly on such and such a page?" And I'm like, "Oh," but it broke me out of the "it must be perfect," you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I mean, it was great. I When he told me, I just started laughing. I'm like, "Of course, he
Excellent.
would be the one to find it. This is
Excellent.
perfect."
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what inspired me to start writing fiction
Mhm.
because I spent most of my life writing seriously. I wrote academically, I wrote
Yep,
business, I wrote, really angsty teenage poetry. It was really
same.
serious. Like I wrote academic papers and they got grades, like it was super serious. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll try fiction. And I was like, at least I can write a better book than some of the books that I've read out there.
I know.
I was like, these books have made it to library shelves, bookstore shelves. They have legitimate followings of readers who will
Yep.
buy them. And I bet I can write a better book than some of the books I've read.
I still remember a friend of mine, we would read some of the same book series when we were in high school. And while we were waiting for the bus, we'd be standing there going through the edits that we found,
Yeah,
mistakes we
yeah,
found in the book. And
yeah,
I kept trying to remind myself of that when I got
yeah,
scared. And
yeah,
I'm like, traditionally published books still have errors. I
yeah.
think it was because indie published books tend to have a bad it's gotten better, but indie published books tend to have a worse rap because it's like there's no gatekeeper saying
Yeah.
this is good enough to
Quality
publish.
control.
Yeah, and it's like, there are a lot of indie books, out there that haven't had an editor's eye on them, you can
Yeah,
tell,
yeah,
but people have gotten much more careful. They're cleaning up their work, they're getting editors, they're getting professional cover designers, and it's really helped. So I felt that extra I need to make this as good as possible to,
yeah,
like, prove it. I
yeah,
wasn't gonna have a grade on it to prove my worth like I did
yeah,
in high school and
yeah.
college, so I had to do it some other way apparently.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even if you look at like viral series like Zodiac Academy, for example,
Right.
there's so many formatting issues in those
Mhm.
books. When I was reading, like I got them through the library, so I don't know what edition they were, but every first line of every chapter was missing.
Do that.
I don't know. And like they had very beautiful chapter images for each
Yeah.
chapter, but I think the images just like deleted the first line.
Oh, no.
Somehow. And I was like, if this can be a viral series that everyone is talking about right now, and in every chapter the first line is missing,
Yeah.
then I feel better about my books.
I p I picked up a viral book a while back, and I mean, everybody was raving about it. And I started reading it, and there were so many not only formatting errors, but grammatical errors and misspellings, all these kind of things in there. And I'm just like, I really want to take a highlighter to this and mark it up,
Yeah.
and be like, what? How?
Yeah. How did this get
How?
past the printing floor? Like, honestly,
Yeah.
honestly.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
you know, whatever. If people love the book, I'm not gonna bash them for loving the book. Like, go for it. Enjoy the
Absolutely.
book.
I am a
Love what you
Zodiac
love.
Academy stan all the way. It did not deter from my enjoyment of the book. I am legitimately
Yeah.
obsessed with that series. So it did not kill the enjoyment, the experience of the story. And I think that's what we as writers have to remember is
Yes.
that's secondary.
Mhm.
Formatting, editing, even spelling and typos is a secondary issue when
This
we're
is true. This is true. I mean, you gotta have the heart of the story, like a
yeah.
compelling story that takes people along. And honestly, the only reason that I'm a stickler when it comes to formatting is because I spent, uh, 10 years as a professional proofreader checking
Mm,
for formatting stuff,
mm,
not to mention I have to format my own book, so of course I'm, like, trying to hyper focus to make sure everything's right. So, honestly, that's, like, the main reason why, that'll catch my attention and jerk
yeah,
me out of reading for a second.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But if it's a good story, I'll
Oh,
let it
yeah, it's not gonna matter.
I'll let it go.
Yeah.
So let's get practical now.
Yeah.
How exactly did you approach the marketing aspects of this journey? Like what has worked for you, what hasn't?
Mhm. So I did a few things. I mentioned that I would go to author signing events.
Hmm.
So while I was still working on my book and trying to figure out what I wanted to do for publishing, I would go to those signing events and I would talk to every single author there.
Mm,
I'd get their cards with their
mm,
information and follow them on social media. I'd ask them about their writing journey. I'd take a look at their table,
mm,
um, and take note of what catches my attention.
mm.
I'd also take a note of like the freebies they were offering,
Yeah.
and I would even ask them, like, how do they do? Like, do you notice people liking, like, these, keychains versus these bookmarks? And they would give me feedback, and they were great about it. I mean, that's all,
Yeah.
again, part of building a community. So,
Yeah.
before I even published, I was taking notes on what I was going to do to promote
Mm,
my book.
mm,
At the same time, my my dad had got me into watching the show The Prophet, which for those who don't know is basically all about helping to improve business
mhm,
and the quality of what they're selling. But one of the things I took away from it was when you're trying to sell something, sometimes you need other things to help
mm,
sell alongside of it. So I
mm,
was thinking, what else could I sell with a book? Because we see a lot of book art and things like that out there. So I was like, you know what would be cool? I'm going to design necklaces that the characters wear in the book.
mm,
So, for example, this purple one is a necklace that my main character Bianca wears along with her
mm,
sister. So I started doing, I did a necklace for each book. I had custom art made for the books, as well as custom stickers. Right
mm,
now, and this is a this isn't the official sticker, but it's almost done. I'm working on designing candles as well,
mm,
and the art on that is actually designed by Brooke Liddick. Um, she created the image for my or the logo for the apothecary in my book.
mm,
So I could put that on items and showcase that, etc. So I was trying to think of the image part of it with marketing from the start. And trying to figure out a brand. And since the book is called The Purple Door District, shock, I went with purple.
I mean,
Um,
purple people love purple.
right, right. So I designed my table for events to try to draw people's attention. And one of the feedback I've gotten from many authors and also people that have gone to the event, so readers, is the purple, the sign, the items on the table, other than just the books, really caught their attention and brought
Mm,
them over. They're
mm,
like, I didn't, I normally wouldn't even read the type of stuff you write, but I had to know what was going on at your table.
interesting.
So, as the eye-catching piece, I started getting more onto social media before I started, so before I published the first book. So,
Absolutely.
initially, I was all over the place. So, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I think Goodreads, WordPress, etc. I was blogging every week. I
Mm,
was trying to sign up. I was signing up for news builders.
mm,
So CL Cannon, who's a best-selling author, she runs all these incredible newsletter builders. So I
mm,
went from having like 10 friends and family to 2,500 people within a
mm,
couple builders, which was
mm,
really cool. Um, so that was helping with marketing because then I had, an email list I could send my stuff out to.
mm,
Working with fellow authors who, Brian has a podcast, so I asked if I could be on a podcast with him. So that was marketing.
Mm,
Reaching out to the local newspapers to let them know that I had a book coming out. Is it possible to pay for an article about it? I was
mm,
able to get into some of the local papers. My a friend of mine who knew that I was in writing and we went to high school together, she reached out to let me know that one of the Chicago libraries was looking for local writers
mm,
to submit their books to add to their library. And since I grew up in Illinois,
mhm,
I fit in with the category. I ended up getting accepted into the Swan Library Services,
mm.
which has a membership of 100 libraries throughout the Chicagoland area, including public, college, and special libraries. So
Cool.
that means my book is visible all over that location.
Yeah.
I also started talking to independent bookstores in the area.
Mm.
So shout out to Indie Bookstore Day, by the way.
Yes. Yes. We love a
Um,
good indie.
Oh my gosh, right? So I looked at I got to know the owners of some of these places. So my books are in like Swamp Fox Bookstore, which just got a brand new building in Marion, Iowa.
Mm.
I had HEA Book Boutique reach out to me because somebody saw my book and was like, "Hey, can we get that in your store?" Prairie Lights in Iowa City, the Indie Author Book Expo and Gifts in Des Moines. So a lot of it was honestly just reaching out and finding places where my books could go,
Mm.
finding a home, and then also seeing if I could do signing events with them. One thing I haven't done yet that I still need to do is in a lot of cases you can reach out to your local Barnes and Noble
Mm.
and see if they will do an author signing event for you, provided that your book can go through Barnes and Noble, which
Yeah.
mine can, thanks
Yeah.
to Ingram Spark.
Yeah. I did that
So,
for my last launch.
how did that go?
It went well. I actually did a
Good.
multi-author event, so I partnered with two other local authors because it's a
Nice.
relatively new Barnes and Noble location, and so they
Yeah.
were like, we need to like up our local involvement, and so
Mm-hmm.
they were specifically looking for local authors to feature,
Yeah.
and so we did a multi-author event at their
Oh,
store,
that's
and
cool.
it went really well.
So author events where you have a lot of different authors together, I think is one of the best ways to promote yourself too, because then you're not the only one promoting, it's all everybody else.
I was doing some paid promotion on TikTok leading up to the event, and I had
Yeah.
people actually recognize me from TikTok at the
That's
event. And I
amazing.
was like, oh my God, it's working.
I had that happen too. Author Bree Moore,
Yeah.
she was at an author signing event with me. It was a indie author expo in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And she walked up to my table and she goes, "Oh my God, you're on TikTok." I'm like, "Yes." She goes, "I follow you. I love your videos." So we started talking, and now we're like friends. We follow each other. I supported her Kickstarter that she launched a while
Mm,
not too long ago, and we're planning to do a workshop together about putting together Kickstarters
mm.
for a publishing group.
Awesome.
So it's
Yeah.
really cool, like that kind of connection. And I remember when I launched my first book, I had met an author virtually who was launching hers too. It was had witches and all kinds of magical elements in there, and her book was purple as well. So we
Mm.
did like a
There
purple
you go.
package, which was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So finding other people to market stuff through and with has been fantastic. And also working with local artists to get book art.
Mm.
I do not do AI generated stuff. I refuse to do that. I want to
Same.
support my local creators.
Hmm.
And I've had stickers of characters created. I have the logo. I have a gorgeous poster by Gabriella Bujuso, who's on Instagram, who made it. And I love it. And I sell it along with the books, you know. So a lot of it's been visual stuff to help with the marketing aspect. Some of it has been connecting with other authors so that if we're going to the same events, we're promoting each other.
Hmm.
Um, and even at events, certain authors that I sit next to, My friend ML Williams, he writes sci-fi, fantasy, and also a memoir. And we try to sit next to each other because we give each other shit the whole time,
Yeah,
jokingly,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but we're also promoting each other as people are coming by.
Mhm.
So somebody will be at his table and they're thinking about the book, and I'll lean over. I'm like, it's really good. He's a really good author. you know, and
Funny.
sometimes it's gotten him an extra sale or two,
Of course. Yeah. I mean, customer reviews are powerful,
right?
even if it's someone who's literally sitting next to you at an event.
And it's important also, that part of marketing too is when you get really good reviews, sharing that around.
Yeah.
I put my book out there to Writer's Digest. They were having like the uh indie author awards,
Mm.
and I got an amazing review from Writer's Digest for my book. So that's featured on my website because
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's cool. And that
That's
gives
gold right there.
right? It gives legitimacy. At the same time, I would like to put this disclaimer and reminder out there that if somebody gives you a bad review, the reviews are for the readers, not for the authors.
Absolutely.
Do not bash bad reviews. Also, a 4-star review is not a bad review. I just want to
No.
put that out there.
Yeah. And bad reviews make the good reviews more believable.
Exactly. And when you get a bad review, it can bring attention to your book, like, "Ooh, why'd they say something bad about it?" And sometimes the bad reviews are just ludicrous.
Yeah.
Or this was really funny. A friend of mine left a review on my book, and it was a really low score, and I was surprised. I'm like, "Oh, wow, she really didn't like it." So, I and this is the only reason I reached out, because I know her and we were friends, and I said, "Hey, saw your review, just wanted to double check. What was it in the book that you thought I could fix? Because I
Mm.
would love to know and learn from that." And she's like, "What?" And she looks, she goes, "Oh my God, that was supposed to be for another book. I put that review on your page by accident." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know. So reviews can be really great with being able to share around, but also please don't and this is not so much to you, but to people
No,
listening,
yeah, yeah.
don't
It's a
yeah.
sticky place nowadays. There's a
And
lot of
yeah,
discourse surrounding this.
and a lot of authors have gotten in trouble because they've attacked the readers,
Oh,
including well-known authors.
yeah.
Like, guys, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. I
Jeez.
mean, that's one of the things that I tell aspiring authors all the time is that you have to become friends with rejection.
Yes. Oh
Like, you
God,
can't
yeah.
just become immune to it. You have to befriend it. Like,
Yes.
because you will hear no every
Every
single day.
yes. Especially if you're querying books, if you're trying to query.
Yeah.
Like, when I would get my first rejections, I would be, like, miserable, and now I'm just like, "Another one for my pile." I have this
Yep.
box in my room that I'm like, I plan to put all my rejections in, and then once I get my book somewhere, I'm gonna take it out, rip it up, and use it as confetti.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? You gotta get used to it. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So a lot of that stuff has really helped with marketing. TikTok has actually surprisingly been really nice, not just with gaining gaining readers and followers, but I've had book sales. I did recently open a TikTok shop. I have not done much with it yet because I have a big signing event next weekend at
Mm.
Northern Iowa Book Bash.
Mm.
And I was trying to keep my supply for then. And then afterwards, that's when I'm going to really hound on the TikTok shop if it doesn't get banned by the US, but we'll see what
Oh
happens.
man, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Everyone who
Right.
knows that I'm on TikTok is like, "How are you feeling?" And I'm like, "I'm not really paying attention to it at the moment because there's literally nothing I can do about it."
Well,
There's like,
exactly.
yeah, I can wave my fist at the sky, but
Write your representatives, but
yeah, I've already done that. I've
yeah.
contacted all my representatives. There's only so much I can do as an individual person. I guess I could fly to DC and camp out on the White House lawn, but I've got shit to do.
Right.
So And again, it also just underlines the importance of diversifying your marketing efforts.
Well, exactly.
Like,
I mean,
not all of my eggs are in the TikTok basket, and
mm-mm,
that's for a reason. Social media is actually lower on my priority list than other marketing methods. Like, I'm so glad that you mentioned newspapers
mm-hmm.
because so many people forget to invest in press.
Right.
And press, from my anecdotal evidence and from what the research tells us too, is one of the highest performing ROI marketing methods out
Mm-hmm.
there. And yet so many people are like, newspapers? And I'm
People
like,
read papers.
newspapers.
Well, newspapers and also uh blog features, getting included on blog
Yeah,
features
any
too. I
form of
mean,
press, really.
yeah, it's that it's good it's good
Yeah.
to get that. You know, I when I was still far more unknown, I was trying to do more to support fellow authors and also build connections. So I was doing author interviews on my website. So weekly, I'd have an author interview up, I'd have a blog post up. And, you know, to be honest, I didn't get a lot of feedback from the blog posts, but I have been able to use those in other stuff.
Mm,
I kind of ended up doing a switch around with marketing stuff in 2020, mostly after my mom passed away.
mm.
Not to bring down the mood, just it's like
Life
obviously,
happens.
yeah, 2020 sucked, and it ruined a lot of things also for authors because we couldn't go to the conventions where we
Yeah.
would normally sell our books and make money, so we had to do things virtually.
Yeah.
I did a lot of virtual panel and online events, which on the plus side helped prepare me for stuff like this.
Yes.
um and but I realized I had to take a back seat on doing a lot of the marketing because I had to take care of my mental health. And this
Yeah.
is one thing I want to bring up about marketing is that it's exhausting. It's a lot of work to do, and it's easy to burn out doing it. It's
Mm,
easy to find that you're marketing more than you're actually writing, which
mm,
is why some people will hire PA as public assistants to do all that stuff for them, but not all of us
mhm.
can afford it. Um, but it's really important to take care of your mental health and all this. So I knew I had to step back then. I haven't continued the author interviews or blog posting much because it wasn't drawing a lot of attention.
Mm,
So I started putting more of my energy into making TikToks
mm,
that was getting attention, and my TikTok account has the most my most followers of all
mm.
my social media, but it also means I can uh post what's on TikTok to all my other social
Yep.
places. I'm
Repurposing.
creating Yeah, I'm creating content for one location that can get spread across
Yeah.
everything, which has been a way to help salvage and take care of my mental health. I'm not having to create unique stuff for every single thing, which is a piece of advice I want to give to people is like choose a platform or two that you're most comfortable with
Hmm.
and post the most there and copy that and put it on other platforms if you want to.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are social media adverse or anxious, and they don't have a social media presence, and they're like, but it feels like we have to have that these days. um to a degree, I feel you do, especially since traditional publishers are now asking for Twitter or X handles or Facebook, whatever. But you can choose to do one location. You don't have to do everything.
Yeah.
Choose where it's most comfortable for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you had to sum everything up that we've talked about today, what would the lesson be that you impart to the audience?
Um, can I give it in a couple bullet points?
Oh yeah. 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 I'm not saying like, 10 words or less.
Yeah. Like you said, we know that authors can be very verbose.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason why we schedule an hour for this.
Right. So make connections. Big thing. Make connections both with fellow writers and also your readers. Those connections can help open up opportunities for you. to find out about events that you wouldn't otherwise know about, and also gives you a chance to support each other
Mm,
and just build a really nice writing community. To build your audience naturally. So when you're
mm,
posting stuff, don't always have it be buy my book.
mm,
Have it be something that is relatable to them. So my TikTok, I post things about writing funnies, so writing struggles I have that people
yeah.
can relate to. I post
We have a
about
lot
being
of relatable writer content, which I
thank
enjoy.
you. Being a writer with mental health issues, I
Mm,
go into that. But I'll also tap into some of the more serious topics like AI generated stuff, pirating books, reading and returning books to bookstores. We won't get
mm,
into that. I will explode. Um, but and then I will have, hey, here's my book, here's stuff about it. And that's why I didn't wanna turn my author the TikTok account that I have right now into my store account, because
mm,
that would mean I'd be so limited to the things that I could post, and I did not want that. So I
mm.
created a separate TikTok account for my store. Um,
Interesting.
because it's like, yeah, there's not a lot of traffic there. I can send people there. And it might take me longer to end up building an audience on there, but I wanted to continue to still be authentic and be able to share all that stuff on my own personal account
Mm,
without risk of getting banned, you know what I
mm,
mean? So being authentic, being relatable, making connections, see what others are doing and that is successful marketing wise, and see how you can use that in your brand as well. Not
mm,
completely copying, I'm not saying that, but if for example, people who are selling books on TikTok right now, they're making it like this cool little package deal
mm.
with having stickers or other things in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got
The wax
apothecary.
seals are really big
Oh,
nowadays.
I love it. I have those too. I'm like, I could do wax seals. And I have a bookmark that's, my business card as well. And I have apothecary stickers. So like it's like, oh, I could do that kind of stuff. That'd be fun, which I need to actually make a TikTok of doing. But see what others are doing, like talked about with the author tables, and see how you can repurpose that to help you build up your brand and what you're doing.
Hmm.
Um, on social media, respond to people. If people are
Yes.
taking the time to comment, like whatever on your posts, make sure you're responding to them, even if it's just a heart to acknowledge you saw. Because I don't know about you, but when I see like a creator respond to my post, I feel like a little warmness inside. It makes me
I feel
happy.
seen.
I feel seen. Right, exactly. Um, so continue to do that because that will help you grow your audience, and make genuine connections. Also keep learning. Take classes about the new and greatest stuff. Pick up that book that's about different trends that are working for you, or
Yeah.
study the TikTok trends, if you're doing that, or Facebook, whatever. Um, Social media and marketing is going to constantly evolve and change.
Yeah. There's no
E-
formula.
Exactly. And the best we can do is see what elements of in which it's changed, and tapping into that for our own usage and seeing what works for us as well.
Yeah.
Which is why I eventually got onto TikTok. It was
Yeah.
like my other stuff wasn't working very well. Let's try this. Hey, it works well. Um, Kickstarters. Don't be afraid to do Kickstarters to help raise funds for your book, because
Mm,
indie publishing especially is very expensive,
mm.
or can be very expensive if you're doing having editors and designers, etc. With Kickstarters, take a course or talk with people who have run successful Kickstarters to create
Mhm.
your own, because it's a lot more work than I think people realize in order
Yes.
to make it successful.
Yes.
Um, and I ran a Kickstarter for the third book of my series, A Game of Fae, and I got funded in almost a week
Mm,
and got a Project We Love on Kickstarter within that week, which was
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, and all of that came from studying other people's doing campaigns. So,
Mm,
keep learning. You can always learn more. And if people are giving you advice, it's not because they're being mean or rude. it's generally because they want to help you
Yeah.
do better.
Yeah.
Um, Also, this is the big thing, take care of your mental health. It's
Mm. Yes.
you don't want to get to the point where you're just you're hating what you're doing. Um, and this is trigger warning. I struggle with suicidal ideation. Do I need to say unaliving ideation, or am I going to get flagged? Do you think?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to say unaliving ideation, and
It's so
it's
weird
so goofy.
nowadays.
It's so goofy.
Yeah.
Um, and in 2019, and this was after I had published one of my books, I got into a really bad headspace,
Mm. That
and
happens.
I almost took my own life.
Mm.
Um, and I'm comfortable talking about it because I want to raise awareness to it and the importance of mental health.
Yeah.
People are gonna see authors who are spending hours upon hours doing marketing and selling their books and doing all this, and they're gonna feel like, oh gosh, I have to do all this too, otherwise I'm not gonna be successful. You need to work to your own pace.
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
sometimes we do need to push ourselves, that makes sense, but don't kill yourself or unalive yourself over it. You need to make sure you're taking care of you, whether that's making sure you're taking mental health days, you're doing therapy, you're taking a step back when you need to and just letting people know, hey, I'm on hiatus on this stuff for a little bit. I will be back. It's what you have to do because I mean, writing is a joy for me, but it has also can turn into a very uh capitalistic thing where it's like anything creative I do, I need to try to make money out of
Yes. Yes.
uh to make what's the word I'm thinking of?
Monetize.
To monetize it, but to uh prove to myself that it's okay that I'm doing something creative
Oh, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm making money out. It's like you can have your own stuff, you can do your own hobbies without having to make money off of it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have another hobby to do, it's you're going to get burned out too. So
Yeah.
take care of your mental health, take care of yourself. Uh, Learn how it feels to balance marketing versus writing
Mm.
and go from there.
Mm.
You're not going to get it right the first time. I'm going to say that right off the bat. You're not going to get the marketing or that kind of stuff right the first time, and that is okay. Just doing it and seeing what works and doesn't allows you to grow and evolve and change to
Absolutely.
make things better for yourself.
It's all an
So
experiment.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail and try again.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we're not going for perfection here. Like I
Mm-mm.
mentioned that before we even went live today. Like
Yeah.
this is not a place for polished perfection.
No.
Wow, look at that alliteration. I might be an author.
I love alliteration.
Yes.
You might
This
still be an
is
emo
not the
poet.
podcast place for polished perfection. Man. All right. I need to go write something apparently. Uh, but yeah, that's not the point. Oh, another
Yeah.
P. Wow. Okay.
It's perfect. Don't get me started. I love alliteration.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, I need to back away from that at the moment. So, as we wrap stuff up,
Yes.
these podcasts do end up being somewhat like therapy. Like,
Hmm.
we do talk a lot about mental health on these podcasts because when you are like, whether you're in the author, creative artist space, or whether you're just in the business space,
Hmm.
self-development space, coach space, consulting space, financial space, when you are your own organization, when you are running your own organization, running your own business, running your own company, your mental health underlines the health of the organization.
Yep.
Whether you're a solo, whether you have a team, whether you have a small business. And I mean, I joke because you either cry or laugh, right? At the end of the
Yes.
day. I joke that running your own business is the fastest path to uncovering your shadows
Oh gosh, yeah.
because they get put on a pedestal. Like you
Mm-hmm.
cannot ignore them. They are there day in, day out. You have to stare them down and you have to be able to have a conversation with them and be like, okay, I see you. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And we don't have time for this. So
Ain't nobody got
what
time for this.
what do I have to do to make sure that you don't disrupt what I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to do, right?
Yep.
And that's ultimately why mental health becomes such a topic in these podcasts because we do have to have those conversations with ourselves, like the whole befriending rejection thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to be able to make these negotiations, make these compromises, have these conversations with yourself and being like, all right, what do I need to do to make sure that I do not screw over for future Claire?
Yes.
Because future Claire has some big dreams. Future
Mhm.
Claire has some shit she needs to do. Future Claire has some vision boards. Like, you know, so this is powerful stuff, audience, that we're talking about here.
Mhm.
And we definitely encourage you to share your own thoughts and feelings and insights and stories with us as well,
Mhm.
because this is relatable, this is inspirational, this is educational, all of the above. So let us know how marketing strategies like these, career paths like these have impacted you in your own life and career. And please do let us know if you have any questions
Yeah.
about anything that we've talked about. We'd be happy to answer them. I had to like define what sapphic was for someone the other day, and I was like, oh, not everyone is familiar with Greek poetry.
Right, right.
I was like, oh, you
I
don't know the ancient Greeks? Oh, okay.
let me tell you.
So
Yeah,
please
I was
know if you want us to define anything or answer any questions about what we've talked about.
and I'd like to add too, like, Claire, I think you said you're gonna post the social media links that I'm
Mhm.
at too. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any writing questions, any publishing questions, or if you just need a little pick me up. If I do not respond right away, it may be because I'm taking care of my mental health, but I will get back to you and chat with you because, I like helping other people as much as I can, especially since the amount of support that I've gotten from other writers and creators. And for people who are going through self-doubt right now
Mm,
and feel like, oh, I'm never going to be a good author, I'm never gonna, I don't have a story that's going to be great or anything. We all have stories to tell, and the world wants to hear your story.
absolutely.
So whenever you doubt it, you tell that imposter syndrome to go shove it and you work on that craft and you get that story out there because there's someone who needs to hear your
Yeah.
voice.
I mean, you said it at the beginning. All a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
So special thanks to Erin for joining us today. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
So please comment, like, subscribe below, check out linktree/clairjoyance for my links, and then where can folks find out more about you?
ErinCasey.org is my main website that has all of my social media linked to it, as well as all of my, you can get signed copies of my books. I'm also on the Zon. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, TikTok, pretty much all over the place. But yeah, if you go to ErinCasey.org, you can find all of my stuff through there.
Awesome. And I'll make sure the links are available for easy access. And until next time, please remember that you all have extraordinary stories to share, and we're rooting for you as you use them to change the world for the better. Take care, guys.
Cheers.